The Galactic Combat Academy on Varith Prime had never failed a human before. It had come close. Connor Hayes stood at the center of the sparring floor for the 47th time in 8 months. And for the 47th time, the automated scoring system chimed its cold, clinical verdict. Combatant eliminated. Match concluded. He lowered his practice blade and said nothing. Around the circular pit, alien cadets shifted in their seats. Some whispered. Most had stopped bothering to hide their amusement months ago. The Verity instructor, a tall reptilian being named SOV Keth, marked the loss in his ledger with the kind of resignation a teacher reserves for a student they have quietly given up on. Hayes. SOV Keth's voice was measured. You telegraph every strike. Your footwork collapses under lateral pressure. Your blade discipline is inconsistent. What, precisely, are you doing differently each session? Connor wiped the sweat from his jaw and met the instructor's vertical pupils without flinching. Losing, sir. A ripple of laughter moved through the stands. Only one cadet did not laugh. Olivia Brooks sat 3 rows up in the observer's gallery, her arms crossed, her dark eyes tracking Connor with a focus that her fellow cadets found baffling. She was the Academy's highest-ranked human, 3rd overall in the entire institution, and she had requested, on 4 separate occasions, to be assigned as Connor's sparring partner. SOV Keth had denied every request. He is not at your level, the instructor had told her. Pairing you would be inefficient. Olivia had nodded, said nothing, and continued watching Connor lose. What SOV Keth did not understand, what none of them understood, was that Connor Hayes was not trying to win. He was trying to learn how to be killed. Back on Earth, in the mountain training camps that produced the planet's blade practitioners, there existed a philosophy so old it had no formal name. Some called it ghost reading. Some called it wound mapping. It had no elegant alien translation. The concept was simple and brutal. A fighter who has never truly lost cannot recognize the moment death arrives wearing a friendly face. Connor had spent 8 months losing on purpose. Not carelessly, not passively. He lost with surgical attention, cataloging every kill shot the Academy's best combatants used against him. He noted the angle of approach favored by Verity fighters, left shoulder dominant, always. He noted the overextension of Krell warriors in their 3rd exchange, every single time. He noted how the Dravani cadets unconsciously widened their stance a half-second before a decisive thrust, a habit so embedded in their species' muscle memory that even their champions did it. He let himself be defeated by each pattern again and again, until the shape of it lived in his nervous system like a language. The Academy's holographic scoring tracked wins and losses. Connor was tracking something else entirely. The crisis arrived without announcement, as crises always do. A Dravani warship, a rogue faction, separatists who rejected the Galactic Compact, dropped out of FTL transit directly above Varith Prime. Their intent became clear within minutes. This was not an invasion. It was a statement. They wanted the Academy's students, the future officers of a dozen species, taken as leverage, prisoners of political theater. The station's defense systems went dark in under 90 seconds. Jamming technology, military grade. And then the boarding parties came, carrying real blades. Not practice weapons. Not calibrated stun edges. Actual blades. Long, curved, designed by a culture that had been fighting blade wars for 3 centuries. SOV Keth sealed the eastern corridors and ordered evacuation protocols. Most cadets obeyed. The Dravani boarders moved in organized kill teams, cutting off exit routes with practiced efficiency. Olivia Brooks did not evacuate. She had pulled a real blade from the Academy's emergency cabinet. Heavier than she liked, balanced slightly forward, but functional, and she was moving toward the sound of boots when she turned a corner and nearly collided with Connor Hayes. He was already armed. He looked calm in a way that registered as wrong to her, because nothing about this situation warranted calm. Connor. She said his name like a question. East corridor is cut off, he said. They've got a 3-man team holding the junction at Gallery 7. 2 more working down from the upper tier. The lead fighter on each team will push hard on the opening exchange, Dravani doctrine. They commit early to establish psychological dominance. Olivia stared at him. How do you know their doctrine? Cadet Vren. 3rd year. I sparred him 11 times. Connor's eyes were steady. He does exactly what his people do. Opens big, overextends on strike 3, widens his right foot before he commits. There was a silence in which Olivia recalibrated everything she thought she understood about the boy who had lost 47 consecutive duels. "Gallery 7, she said. "How do we take the junction?" "You don't." Connor moved past her, already in motion. "You pull them into the corridor. Tight space kills their formation. I'll take point." "You'll take," she started to object. 8 months of scoreboard data argued against her following this man into a fight. Then something in his posture stopped her objection cold. He moved differently. Not like a cadet. Not like a student. He moved like something that had spent months learning exactly how it would be hunted and had quietly built a map of every possible trap. She followed. The first team at Gallery 7 was exactly what Connor had promised. The lead fighter surged forward the moment they appeared, aggressive, overwhelming, confident. Dravani doctrine. Establish dominance. Shatter morale in the opening seconds. Connor stepped aside. Not backwards. Aside. A small, unhurried movement. The kind that shouldn't work against a trained fighter, and yet it rendered the entire committed thrust into empty air. The Dravani boarder's weight was already past the point of recovery. Connor moved with the falling momentum rather than against it, redirected, and the corridor wall did the rest. Strike 3 never came. The opening exchange consumed itself. The second fighter adjusted. They were trained, these Dravani, properly trained, but adjustment requires a half-second of reassessment, and in that half-second, Olivia was already there. She operated in the space Connor's first engagement had opened, her blade work clean, textbook, the product of months at the top of every sparring chart. Together, they didn't fight like two cadets. They fought like a system. Connor created openings he had no intention of exploiting himself. Olivia closed them. When a Dravani fighter adapted to Olivia's rhythm, Connor was already moving for the position the adaptation had vacated. He never struck a finishing blow if Olivia was in range. He never moved without knowing where she was. The second team, coming down from the upper tier, found Gallery 7 already silent. They found something else, too. They found a human standing in the center of the junction who was not defending a position, who was not retreating, who was simply standing there, weight distributed, blade low, watching them approach with an expression that veterans sometimes called death patience. A stillness so complete that it communicates one thing without words. I have already seen how this ends. The two remaining Dravani boarders hesitated. That hesitation cost them everything. When the compact defense forces arrived 19 minutes later and secured the academy, they found 43 cadets successfully evacuated, 2 boarding parties neutralized, and 1 human cadet sitting on the floor of Gallery 7, systematically cataloging blade angles in a handwritten notebook he had apparently carried through an active combat scenario. The Defense Force commander, a Verity general with 4 decades of service, looked at the notebook, then at Connor Hayes, then at the unconscious Dravani fighters, then back at Connor. "Who taught you to fight like that?" Connor considered the question honestly. "No one, sir. I taught myself how to lose like that." The general did not appear to know what to do with this answer. Olivia, who had been leaning against the wall with her arms crossed in a posture she apparently maintained across all circumstances, looked at Connor with something she had been holding back for 8 months. "I watched every one of your matches," she said. "I thought you were struggling." "I was." He closed the notebook. "I was struggling to memorize fast enough." She was quiet for a moment. "You weren't trying to win. Winning a practice duel teaches you how to practice." Connor stood, tucked the notebook away. "Losing them teaches you how to survive the one that counts." SOV Keth appeared at the corridor entrance. He surveyed the scene. He looked at his ledger, as if expecting to find some regulation that addressed this specific situation. He found none. He looked at Connor Hayes, the cadet with 47 consecutive losses in a gallery full of neutralized boarders, and for the first time in 8 months, he made a mark in a different column. The Academy's official report described the incident as a successful defensive action by 2 cadets acting under emergency conditions. Connor's training record still showed 47 losses. He never asked for them to be revised. He didn't need anyone to change the record. The record, he understood, was the whole point.